Hey, welcome to Main Pod Girl, a podcast made by Popheads for Popheads. Every episode, we'll be diving into all kinds of pop culture topics with some of our favorite artists and music commentators. I'm your host, AJ Marks, and I'm so excited for today's episode. So today, I have an all-star team with me. It's two returning guests. First up, we have Mila Tequila. She haunts this podcast like it's her own. I love it. I love every time she's on here. And then we also have a returning guest, Andrew Unterberger from Billboard. He was on an episode last year with Jason Lipschutz.
Yeah, I think it was mostly about kind of just catch up on the year 2024 and what it means that all these good things are kind of happening at once.
Yeah. That was like our mid-year check-in. And this is kind of like, it's actually going to be about Popstar generations, classes of pop stars as if they went to like Popstar high school, which I actually think would be a really cool show. If someone wants to make that, someone wants to make like like an animated YouTube series of like pop stars going to high school, you could totally do that. Anyway, so we can kind of go chronologically and then we'll explain the generation's like unique qualities, like what's specific to this generation, what defined this generation, etc. And then I'm thinking once we kind of know what we're talking about, we come up with like the definitive like core members. So that's somewhere between like 7 to 10 people that we would say like represent this generation. And then we can also talk about like the extended ecosystem of other people that like maybe don't quite fit in one way or another, or they were just like relevant. And then we do some superlatives. So what's the earliest like generation that everyone wanted to talk about here?
You can do a disco one, I guess, if you want.
Disco one? All right, let's start off with the disco one.
77, I guess to 78, Donna Summer, the Bee Gees, Andy Gibb, Casey and the Sunshine Band, and maybe ABBA. I mean, I'd have to consult with someone who was a little bit, obviously I was not born in the 70s, so I couldn't say exactly how close they fit in to how that felt in real time. Maybe the Bay City Rollers too. And then there's some other artists from the time who kind of went disco, like the Rolling Stones and eventually Blondie and some other folks. But I feel like our kind of concept of modern pop stardom mostly starts in the 80s, but I feel like the proto pop stars come up in the late 70s, especially Donna Summer. And you can also maybe throw the Grease soundtrack into there. I don't know if that's not really an artist, but it was sort of like, it was kind of a pop star in its own right.
We can just throw John Travolta in general.
Yeah, and Olivia
Olivia
Newton-John
Newton-John,
sort of too. Yeah. So I feel like that was the first one that came to mind for me as like an actual class of stars.
Would we throw Gloria Gaynor in there, or is it really just that one song?
I mean, yes. I think she had like two hits, but they were separated by a number of years. I don't know if she was ever like a kind of A-list star in her own right. Again, like this is a little bit beyond my frame of reference in terms of like how it felt culturally. So I can't say for sure. Certainly that song was a huge part of it. But I don't think she was quite on the level of those other artists who had like 5, 6, 7 huge hits each.
Yeah, totally. So she'd be kind of like extended ecosystem. Yeah. But I like this one. Disco is obviously like a huge key feature for this.
There was a certain kind of glitziness to it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like shiny dresses and kind of dolled up suits. And, it was definitely showier than I would say the pop stars of the early decade.
And also it's like people are going out and going to the disco and they're doing certain dance moves and there's like a certain way about it, way to listen to this music that is not necessarily
the beginning of club music as a concept. Sure.
I'd also add that a big part of this is like its contrast with the other music that was on the radio. So like early 70s, there's a lot of like easy listening, soft rock, and then what else was on the charts at this time was also like Americana, folk rock. So I feel like the kind of glitziness of that does contrast with what like Billy Joel and like Bonnie Tyler were releasing that was also charting.
I have some superlatives. The first one, and I think we will know the answer to this, is valedictorian. So I'm thinking like the most successful artist during that time who embodied and defined that generation. And it like has nothing to do with their success before or after. It's just about like in this time period, who was the it girl or the it guy.
It's interesting because I do think the biggest hit makers of the time were the Bee Gees, and they probably had the biggest hits and the most hits. And if you look at their like chart stats, 77 to 78, it's like an all-time run. It's like up there with, Michael Jackson and Drake and some of the biggest runs that they had. But in terms of like the most iconic star of that period, which I think is more of what you're talking about, it's probably Donna Summer.
I would think it's Donna Summer too.
I agree.
Yeah. So I could also make a case for Barry Gibb because he was doing a lot of songwriting for other artists who might have only had like one or two hits at that time, like Samantha Sang's "Emotions" that the Destiny's Child later covers. "If I Can't Have You" by Yvonne Elliman, which is also on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Like his sphere of influence at that time was just gargantuan. But again, when you're thinking of disco, if you're thinking of one figure to sort of define it, it's probably Donna Summer.
I would also say Donna Summer. I mean, what I'm thinking of when I think like the valedictorian of a pop era, it would be Donna Summer. Like diva, glamour, everything. Like visuals that have lasted, 50 years since they came out. People are still referencing them. I'd say Donna Summer.
Well, the next one is the vocal diva. So this can be like the same people, but this is the artist known especially for their vocal prowess.
This one I will give to Barry Gibb. He's definitely got like one of the most iconic falsettos in pop music history and really, really immediately recognizable. Donna Summer's obviously a great singer, but I don't think that you could confuse a Donna Summer song for somebody else. I don't think you could confuse a Barry Gibb song with somebody else, unless it's one of his other brothers, I guess.
Yeah, I would say Barry Gibb's a good pick. What about you, Mila?
Gloria Gaynor.
Mm.
But I'd also like to honorable mention to Diana Ross in her early 70s work.
Oh, true.
Very fair.
Yeah. Diana Ross is vocal diva. Let's throw her into this. So then there are other ones, but I will save them for further ones because they're a little bit more niche, a little bit more specific. What is the next one that everyone has? I have 1983. Does anyone have something before that?
Yeah, 1983 is great.
What I'd like to call like the MTV crew, early MTV adopters, artists that use their music videos to heighten their pop stardom. That was not a thing before. This is the MTV generation. They were always on people's TV screens and not just on their radio. I also think this crew, I feel like, took advantage of pop with a capital P, like synth pop, They started the genre that is pop that we know today, So people I would throw into this class would be Madonna and Michael Jackson, of course, Cyndi Lauper, David Bowie, Prince. I'd also throw in Olivia Newton-John and then Whitney Houston, I would say, because I feel like she also belongs in a different generation, but like did kind of exist here.
Existed here specifically with pop.
Like she existed here to fit in here, and then she molded into something later.
I think Whitney Houston being a little bit later than the rest of this crew, and maybe Olivia like a little bit earlier. Like I think once Madonna hits the scene, that's sort of the end of it for Olivia Newton-John.
Olivia was a senior. Whitney was a freshman.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
fair. When Madonna was a sophomore, I think
exactly.
It's kind of like Glee, like the next generation. It's like the same show, but they have a new cast.
The funny thing about this generation to me is that it's one graduating generation and one kind of like homecoming generation. Like it's a generation of Madonna and Prince. I would also throw George Michael on there. Wham era George Michael, certainly. Cyndi Lauper, like you said, that's a great call. But it's also a bunch of folks who were famous in the 60s and 70s kind of rediscovering themselves in the MTV era. And that's Michael Jackson, that's Tina Turner, and that's even Bruce Springsteen, who had never really been a pop star before. But Born in the USA in 1984 is like a 16 platinum certified album. It's got 7 top 10 hits on it. Like he was as big as any of these artists as a pop star, even though he had only really been a rock star to that point.
I do think that he fits here.
Yeah, like he wouldn't have fit 2 years earlier or 2 years later, but he does fit, I think, like exactly here.
Okay, so let's throw Olivia Newton-John and Whitney Houston into the extended ecosystem. They were in school, but they weren't like...
They were the Degrassi characters who are coming back even though they're in college.
Yes, exactly.
Prom king and queen, Madonna and Michael Jackson, as far as like
of course
owning MTV, helping MTV and MTV helping them, like that being like a symbiotic relationship for them, making other artists so angry with the fact that they were taking advantage of that. And that MTV was taking advantage of them too. What do they call it? Like Mr. or Mrs. Perfect or whatever the superlative would be? That's what I would give them.
Mr. or Mrs. Perfect? I like that. If we had to pick a valedictorian, who would that be?
I'd also say Michael.
Yeah, it's so tough between Michael Jackson and Madonna, but Michael Jackson kind of sets it off. Like Madonna starts to really become Madonna like in the year or two after Thriller, but by that point Michael Jackson's kind of already set the standard, so I feel like it kind of has to be him.
Okay, y'all are saying Michael Jackson. I'm gonna say Madonna only because, like you said before, Michael was kind of already big and he was just like reinventing himself. And like, true, like he did define this generation, but like I do think of it as Madonna's generation. Like this
Yeah,
was like the birth of the archetype of the female pop star.
totally fair.
The next one is the vocal diva
It's gotta be Whitney.
or Tina Turner.
Oh
Also
boy,
true,
yeah,
yeah.
this is a loaded class, or Michael, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go Tina for this one.
I'll say Michael again.
Okay.
I'm sticking strong with my Whitney choice.
Love that. Okay. A tabloid's best friend. This, if we're talking about the 80s, I don't know if it's Michael because he was more controversial right in the 90s,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. So I would say Madonna for this.
It's gotta be Madonna coming out of the cake, very first VMAs, underwear showing, rolling on the ground, moaning
Or
in
is
the
it just
mic.
the VMAs that's a tabloid's best friend? Is the VMAs the real culprit here?
yeah. If we could vote for the VMAs, I would do that for sure. The
Other than
VMAs.
that event was actually quite boring. I watched it recently. That VMAs in particular were actually quite uneventful if it hadn't been for Madonna writhing around on the floor. So they owed her everything.
It's like hosted by Dan Aykroyd and Bette Midler.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll go with Madonna then instead of the VMAs. I'll take your word for it. You were there. You were in the audience.
I was there.
And the next one is peaked in high school. Cyndi Lauper.
I was thinking the same thing, but I felt really bad about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to think of this as like a negative thing. It's more of like a matter of
Yeah.
fact.
It's like she's so iconic for that time that it's like no matter whatever she would release after, it would just always give that 80s vibe just because of her voice. She's got a
Yeah.
voice that's so iconic and so like essential.
That is kind of difficult if you think about it, like defining the sound with your voice, like defining the sound of a generation and then not being able to leave that generation because you sang and everyone's like, well, that sounds like the 80s.
It's similar with like the way Britney Spears and everyone sang like with the help of Max Martin, like the like all of that type of singing, like that you can't sing like that after the early 2000s or the 90s because it's like that just it sounds so 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it has to be Cindy. I mean, I was having a conversation about a 2024 pop star. I won't say who because I'm sure we'll talk about them later, but I was asking whether they were going to, like, they could follow either the Madonna track or the Cyndi Lauper track. And I felt bad about that because it does seem pejorative towards Cyndi Lauper, who was one of the absolute A-list great stars of this period and who had a very successful rest of her 80s as well. She has like multiple #1 hits and she stays a pretty big star up until about the early 90s. But there's no fucking with 1984 Cyndi Lauper, and she never quite gets that big again.
And also Kinky Boots, I think that's a huge achievement.
Sure.
Elton John should get more recognition for The Lion King, and Cyndi Lauper should get more recognition for Kinky Boots, because isn't Kinky Boots like top 20 longest running Broadway shows of all time? Like that's an achievement. I've never seen it. I want to see it at some point.
Now that you've mentioned Elton John, I feel like we need to give him something.
We'll give him a participation trophy. Here's my thing, though. I don't believe that every single artist belongs in a generation. Some artists just kind of exist and they're not part of like a larger wave of something. They're just like, they just happen to be there.
Yeah. And Elton John is part of this generation too. He does have like a very big 83, 84 kind of MTV revival era, but it's not as big as Bruce Springsteen's. It's not even as big as Billy Joel's, I don't think. So he's in this discussion, but he's like a lower part of the discussion.
He's extended ecosystem.
You can get
guess.
most stylish boy.
Most stylish. I like that one.
Just give that to Elton in perpetuity, I think. Yeah.
Although, I don't know. I think Michael Jackson's very stylish.
I was gonna say he has stiff competition, but Michael's a freshman, so he has to wait his turn.
Exactly. The next one is cutest couple. So this are two people that either had a very notable friendship or relationship or like kinship. Even if they weren't like very close, it was like the bond between them that people projected onto them. But only one of them has to actually like be a part of this generation. So like one of them can be like an actor that someone dated.
I might say George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley from Wham.
Ooh,
They have great chemistry.
I
That's a
like
good
that.
one.
I like that a lot. I'll go with that too, because I struggled to think of one for this.
Yeah, I was struggling. I think it's too early to say Whitney and Bobby, but that's a good one too. Just, all
Yeah.
the new edition of it all and Whitney herself. I think that's iconic.
There was another duo too that I wanted to bring up for this, but I'm gonna bring them up for the next one, which is Best Rivalry. So these are two people who had a very entertaining or iconic feud, whether it was a real feud or an imagined one by the media. And again, only one of them has to be part of this generation. I think it's Madonna and Michael Jackson,
That's a
the
good
king and
one.
queen of MTV. Hold on, Mila, because we talked about this, I think, in our
Okay,
MTV thing. Didn't they
possibly.
crown Madonna the the queen of the 80s or the best pop star of the 80s, and then Michael Jackson got mad and then had them rename the
The
Video
via
Vanguard
yes,
Award?
it became the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award, which they've since reversed, right? Or
They
have they?
reversed it and then they brought
They
it
brought it
back
back.
for Nicki Minaj's year because,
She
uh,
wanted it.
I guess
She's like,
people
I'm winning
who
the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard.
I do think they invented King of Pop for him at some point in the early
yeah.
'90s, and I remember there like reading about how he insisted on them calling him that. Like basically, like he had a specific number of like every like three mentions of his name they had to refer to him as the King of Pop, something like that.
Which he was. I
He
mean,
was. Yeah.
he
Earned.
was. He wasn't wrong.
I'd like to add to
Mhm.
that, specifically for this era, Madonna versus like Yacht Rock.
Yeah.
They hated her. They were so angry. Specifically, like Hall and Oates, like they hated that she was using this music video. It's like, I don't want to be a pretty girl on a screen.
Yeah.
And then she was
Oh.
like, oh well, stream borderline. Like,
You could just say like MTV versus ugly
oh.
men of the '70s, I guess. Like
Yeah.
that was
Yes,
kind of the
yes.
thing. Like Toto certainly hated making music videos too. They talk about that a lot in the Yacht Rock documentary. And some of them actually did make the transition. Like Phil Collins is one of the biggest stars of this period, despite being a balding man in his late 30s. Like he is everywhere in 1984 and 1985. But yeah, most of these guys don't make that jump, and they're probably a little bit rueful of Madonna and her ilk as a result.
Phil Collins, is he getting the superlative of like most likely to be an undercover cop, like 21 Jump Street?
Ooh,
I
yeah, I
like
like that.
that.
Yeah, I
uh,
think he's the one.
yeah, that's definitely not one of the ones that I have for every generation here, but I just thought that would be really funny. The next superlative we have is most changed since graduation. The artist who's changed the most since this time, whether visually, sonically with their music, or the public perception of them changed drastically. I would say Madonna for this
Yeah,
one.
like it can't be anyone but Madonna. I
Like just
mean,
visually and sonically, yeah.
a lot of,
Um,
I mean, unfortunately, most of her peers have either passed on or are just simply not in the spotlight in the way she is anymore. I mean, people still talk about Madonna, whether it be negative or not. People are still
yeah.
talking about Madonna to this day.
Yeah, it's true. The next one I have is like, so the 90s generation that I have listed, I would think of like the Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion. Is Michael Bolton here?
Probably. I mean, the problem is that you're talking about like an entire decade here. Like Michael Bolton is only really relevant at the very, very beginning of the '90s, and by the late '90s, we're talking about the boy bands. It's sort of a different thing. But yeah, I think Michael Bolton, Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, you can sort of get a class out of that core.
Early 90s is the Time Life Collections music.
I mean, it was a really diffuse decade for sure, but it was also just a very rock and hip hop driven decade. Like,
Yeah.
and some of those artists were pop stars at that time. Kurt Cobain was a pop star. Billy
Oh,
Corgan
hell
of the
yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins, believe it or not, was a pop star at a certain point. Uh,
Courtney
and definitely
Love, Gwen
Courtney
Stefani.
Love, yeah, absolutely. Shirley Manson, like all those people did reach that kind of pop level of ubiquity and recognition, but they didn't necessarily have songs you would consider capital P pop hits, or like a couple of them did, but not a lot of them. Courtney Love certainly didn't. And yeah, there were rappers. Snoop Dogg was like a gigantic cultural force. Snoop Doggy Dogg at that time. Tupac, Dr. Dre, folks like that. And later in the decade, like Will Smith is in a very sort of different sense. But yeah, just in terms of like our current understanding of pop music as being very defined by pop divas and pop girls in general, it was few and far between. And when they were there, they were usually only there for a song or two, and then it was something else. I feel like we could do like a pre TRL '90s and a post TRL '90s.
Yeah.
Like those, that's sort of the dividing line to
You're like
me. It's like when
90
you
to
start
95 and 95 on.
Okay, so for the pre TRL 90s, who's the valedictorian?
probably Mariah Carey. Like from a pop standpoint, she had a number one hit every year of the 1990s, which is still kind of crazy to think about. Uh, and she was galactically famous and successful, and had all the hits and the drama and the videos and everything. She's definitely like the pop exemplar of the 1990s.
I agree. She set the standard for everything that came after. I mean, she was the Tommy Mottola era Mariah Carey, and then post Tommy Mottola era Mariah Carey were two different beasts, and they both did everything that everyone wanted to do.
I would put Mariah Carey as the valedictorian here. Is she the vocal diva, though?
I'd also say yes.
Yeah,
but I mean, you could
unquestionably.
also say
Unquestionably. So it's not
Yeah.
Celine, it's not Whitney.
I would still go with Mariah. That might be personal preference, but yes.
Yeah, I think vocal diva. I think if we're going for the most like instantly recognizable, it'd probably be Celine Dion. But I'll put Mariah Carey here too, just because she is the Guinness World Record setter for like the highest note ever hit that opens garage doors. Like that's crazy. Like I still don't think that's real, but I know that that is real. But I'm like my brain can't process it.
Yeah, like the climactic note of emotions, like that whistle register note, is like one of the 5 greatest moments in the history of pop music, in my opinion.
Yeah. The next one is a tabloid's best friend. I believe that this would fall to Whitney, but or if we're doing early 90s, it could be Kurt, it could be Courtney.
Yeah, I'd say the combination of Kurt and Courtney, certainly 92 to 94, when like the press was in every inch of their business, and there were these like Vanity Fair covers of like, and they talked about them doing drugs and child neglect and stuff like that. It was really, really messy with those two in their years of celebrity. So I think that's probably a good call for this.
Yeah, I'll go with Kurt for this.
I agree.
And then peaked in high school. Again, this feels prude for someone who didn't die during this generation.
Yeah, I think this is safe Michael Bolton territory here. Like, really,
Yes.
He was the man for exactly 2 years, and then I guess Lonely Island resurrected him 15 years after that. And you know, he had Hercules. Yeah, he had other stuff going on. He was never totally out of the mix, but he was a pop star for a while, and that moment did not last forever.
I never made the connection that that's the same Michael Bolton.
It is indeed, yes.
Until now. What about you, Mila?
I would say Michael Bolton too. Unfortunately, I think too many of the other people either didn't peak here or passed away, and I don't feel comfortable saying.
Yeah, me either. Then the next one is Cutest Couple. And I think if we're talking about, because I wrote here, very notable friendship or relationship. So if we're talking about notable, I would say Kurt and Courtney.
They were not that cute together.
I was going to say cutest
There's not a lot of
couple.
cuteness going on
So
there.
Maybe it
Sid and
doesn't-
Nancy type of vibe with their relationship.
If we're talking about cutest couple too, I also wouldn't say Mariah and Tommy, but I
No.
would. But if we're talking about notable couples, sure.
The relationship that Kurt Cobain had with Michael Stipe of REM, I always thought was really nice. They had kind of like a friendship, kind of kindred spirit sort of thing going on, and they influenced each other's records a little bit. And they shared producers, and I think there were even rumors that they'd had an affair at one point, but I don't think that was ever actually corroborated. But they had a really interesting relationship.
I'm going to corroborate it right now on this podcast.
Okay, sure.
I was there.
Let's go with that.
And the next one is best rivalry.
I want to say Madonna and Courtney Love.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a very good one. I'll also say Nirvana and Guns N' Roses. They like feuded at the '92 VMAs, and I think Axl Rose was threatening to like beat up. Like, I think there's a thing where like he like confronts Kurt and Courtney backstage at the VMAs, and Courtney makes some smart remark to him, and he's like, "Yo, you better shut your bitch up, or I'm gonna have to shut her up for you." And Kurt Cobain goes like he does a very cartoonish like, "Shut up, bitch," and he like pretends to smack her, and she does the, and she like reacts in kind, and they kind of make fun of him that way. But it was a good rivalry between, I guess, brains and bronze there, you would say.
Yeah.
Lots of rivalries in general in the 90s because, like, again, like, so much of what was the 90s was reactionary to the 80s. So I feel like a lot of the 90s were like, we're making the best music. Everyone else is making lame, stupid music for idiots with no taste.
It's a generation of hate.
It was a beef generation for sure.
That's why the Gen Xers are the way they are.
So the next one is most changed since graduation.
Mariah Carey. Gotta be. She's had so many different iterations, especially since this time period where she's going like all black, big curly hair, like live band, like to what she then would go on to do.
Now you only ever see her in like a Santa outfit.
Now she's in the bodysuit with the faja.
Most change. Yeah, I would say Mariah. I can't really think of anyone else who kind of like fits this. mold. Everyone else, I think the public perception of them at least is kind of stuck in where it was in the early 90s. So that wraps up that. We'll skip to the millennium teen boom, as I call it. And I only want to, for this one, I only want to include in my head teenagers, because that was really the thing that I think defined this generation specifically. So there were other people who were popular, but if you're talking about Christina, Britney, Usher,
Mandy Moore, Jessica Simpson, and then also Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, etc.
Brandy, Aaron Carter, Monica, Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, Avril Lavigne, Pink, and Justin Timberlake, they were all teenagers.
And I'd argue that's because of TRL.
Totally.
Because like they're the ones watching TRL, they're the ones going out and buying the music. Like teenagers controlled music.
Yeah. So for the valedictorian, I have a pretty easy answer for this, which is Britney. But does anyone disagree? From 1998 to 2002?
It's Britney Spears, for sure.
Yeah, it's Britney Spears.
I mean, like, if there was one Backstreet Boy and he could kind of represent for the entire group on their own, then maybe, because they were equally popular and equally kind of impactful, at least for a little while. But Britney Spears was, 5 Backstreet Boys in one, certainly, and then some. So it's not really a contest.
The Backstreet Boy. I like that.
Yeah.
We should have the Backstreet Boy at some point.
It's like Britney Spears, but with Janet as the teacher.
Yes, Janet's the instructor.
You go to Britney Spears school. This is the teacher. This is the uniform.
In the Degrassi, for the vocal diva, I have 2 in mind for this, and for very different reasons. And that's Christina and Brandy.
Brandy is a good answer. Vocal Bible, but I also would like to vocal divas. Destiny's Child. Beyonce was the lead singer. People like to make fun of that clip where she's going, "Say Beyonce." Everyone likes to make fun of this. Like, she was the lead singer. It wasn't her being greedy. She was just being the lead singer of the group, which was her job, to sing lead.
I feel like people only make fun of that
singer.
now, though, because they're used to like the One Directions, the BTS.
Yeah, that's what they like. Everything has to be fair. Like, it has to be fair. They're like, it's unfair if they're not all singing the same. I'm like, okay, well, some people are just better singers.
I'm like,
so
only 2 people sang in NSYNC. Like,
I'm like, we need to have an honest conversation about One Direction, because there were good singers and there were not so strong singers in that group, and there's a reason that they had the lead solos. It's not rocket science. It's very clear.
So what are we going for the vocal diva? I'm gonna say Brandy.
I like Brandy too.
I would say Christina, just because I think of Brandy like a little bit, like she was already like very, very famous before TRL started. She had already, I mean, she got started so young, and her and Monica were both like in their early teens when they became famous. So it's almost unfair to judge them against this. But yeah, I mean, when I think vocal powerhouse of the TRL era, what I think of is Christina Aguilera.
The next one's a tabloid's best friend, and I would pick Britney for this too. But maybe I'm missing someone.
Eminem.
True.
I think those two might win this category like forever. Like Britney and Eminem around the turn of the century were like public sensations, and the interest level in them was just higher than maybe anybody until Taylor Swift. Like the level of like microscope that they had put on them and every single thing about them was just like incomparable to anyone else in the decades afterwards.
And then the connection also with both of them and a lot of their drama they had being Christina Aguilera. So she deserves an honorable mention there somewhere. She beefed with both of them for different reasons.
With greatest rivalry.
Messiest.
Peaked in high school.
I think this is Backstreet. Like, I mean, they definitely still tour well, but their last big hit is in like 2000, 2001.
I think it's all of those boy bands, like all those boy bands who showed up out of nowhere and then went back into nowhere.
Yeah.
The idea of a boy band peaked in high school.
Yeah, and the girl bands too.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess Girls. We had like Pussycat Dolls, and that was it.
Yeah, that was after. But with, like the Spice Girls and stuff like that, definitely. Just like those one-off ones, like LFO.
Yeah, I would say like the idea of a boy band without a breakout member peaked here.
Yeah.
Because like Backstreet Boys had no solo stars in it. NSYNC did, and certainly like the later groups, One Direction and BTS, like that's all we talk about with them is the solo stars at this point.
There's a collection of artists we could know.
Yeah, but like Backstreet, like only 2 of them even tried to go solo, and neither of them were successful. So
okay, the next one is cutest couple, and I think for this one I'm gonna say Britney and Justin.
Britney and Justin.
Throw that out there.
Yeah.
I just think that they were the it couple, you know.
Britney and Justin. I also, I guess it's too early, but Britney and Madonna was a good one too.
Britney, Madonna. Yep. Cutest couple. And
Like
then
that's
Christina
like a mother daughter.
Poor Christina.
It's like Madonna and Janet Jackson had like a surrogate birth to Britney Spears.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. So Britney and her mom are the cutest couple. Best rivalry, a couple good ones. We have the Brandy and Monica rivalry. We have Christina and Eminem. We have Christina and Britney. And then we also have Britney and Pink, which I don't think were a real rivalry.
Damn,
but
Britney Spears.
That's Britney versus everyone. It was all the girls who were like, I'm not Britney Spears. I don't need to dance around and show my belly to get records.
It was Britney and everyone who was compared to her, and Eminem and everyone who he had beef with. I think those are the two answers there.
Eminem and everyone. He was just so angry all the time.
He was an angry young man. Not even that young. He was like in his late 20s at that point.
He's like, you're too old for this. Go take a bath.
So what are we saying for best rivalry?
I like a three-way rivalry with just Christina and Britney, Christina and Eminem. Not necessarily like a triangle, but just like
everyone
just
hates
like,
each other.
She was fighting lots of battles at that time. That's what makes her a fighter.
Right. It's a divided front for Christina Aguilera.
Okay, mine is going to be Brandy and Monica only because they have a song about their rivalry.
And it apparently was real, and they like actually like got into a little tussle about it too.
Yes. And like I would have loved, I know that Britney and Christina like kind of were in a real rivalry, but it was kind of only after they were in a fake rivalry. But if they had had a song,
oh my god, that would have been
about
everything.
fighting over someone.
I think they had two different musical styles to have had a song together is the problem, because Christina would have been drowning her out on that track.
I mean, in like 2011, I feel like they would have been able to like make the same song.
Yes,
because by then everyone from the 2000s was making the same music. Like,
it's just like they had one of those rivalries where they're like, we're not rivals, but then they keep making like shady AF comebacks at each other, and it's like, okay, well, like I don't know what's the truth, because she's like, Britney needed to kiss Madonna for a gimmick. And then Britney's like, okay, but wasn't she kissing her too? Do you guys remember that?
The problem is that I don't think Britney can ever really be in a real feud, because I think she's kind of fundamentally too nice and non-confrontational. Like she can only ever beef like in self-defense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Britney's feud is with feuds in general. She's done with feuds. And then the last one is most changed since graduation.
Beyonce.
I would say Mandy Moore.
I guess.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Completely different career path.
Those are two really good answers. And you could say Britney Spears, but that's more of an external change than like an internal change. So I don't know if that's necessarily fair to say.
Her music as well too, but I mean, I guess that was kind of out of her control in terms of how it changed.
Also, Justin Timberlake. If you're talking about public perception.
Oh, in terms of public perception, sure, yeah.
And I want to throw in another one. Most likely to succeed. So at the time, you would have thought this artist would continue to be the most successful of their peers to come, whether they did or whether they didn't.
Are you inventing this category just so you can say something really nice about Avril Lavigne?
Oh, wait. I didn't even think about Avril Lavigne. I was thinking Britney, but...
I like Usher for this, too. He came out with so many, like, promising hits at the beginning that, like, were I sentient at the time, I think I would have called him being huge for years to come.
So I'm sorry, are we saying someone who didn't end up being huge for years to come, or
whether they did or they didn't, you would have thought at the time that they're the most likely to succeed and become the biggest pop star in the world. Based on where we were in 2002, like who do you think it would have been? I think Avril Lavigne is a good pick for this. I'm going to go with Britney because Avril Lavigne only had one album out at that point, but there were 3 timeless songs from that.
I'd probably say Eminem just because he was on top of the world at that point and had been for a few years and seemed like he kind of would be forever. And then he immediately wasn't, like right after that. But I would not have predicted that at the time. I would have thought that would have kept going for at least the rest of that decade.
Is it too early to say Kelly Clarkson?
No. I feel like
I'd say Kelly Clarkson too. She came out with because American Idol, that concept was like new to us in America. Yeah. And they came right out the gate with a superstar. Which the UK, all of their versions did not necessarily do that at that point. But like we came out of the gate, so everyone was like, this show is going to change the world. Everyone from this show is going to be so famous.
And so for the next generation, we have 2 kind of coexisting micro generations. And I feel like they go hand in hand with each other. So for the purpose of this podcast, we'll treat them as like one big generation. So the 2 sides of the coin on this are what I call the Fueled by Warped Tour generation. So essentially all those bands in the emo scene on the Fueled by Ramen label or bands that you'd expect to play at Warped Tour. And then the other half of this is the I'm a rock chick, I like to rock out, which is like the post-Avril, oh, women can make rock music too, angsty white woman with a guitar scene.
I had those. I had those sort of as the same generation. Like, I wasn't really thinking of Avril and Pink as part of the TRL generation. I was thinking Avril, Pink, Kelly Clarkson, Michelle Branch, Vanessa Carlton as kind of their own thing.
Oh, Vanessa Carlton I didn't have in here, but yes. I think Paramore kind of is in both.
Paramore is maybe the handoff between the two.
Yeah, so for angsty white woman, we also have, Ashley Simpson, Michelle Branch.
You know, I have beef with that.
We've talked so much about Ashley Simpson. She comes up every time that Mila and I talk.
I mean, if you're talking about like Warped Tour stuff, you got to talk about like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco and My Chemical Romance.
That was another thing about like the mid 2000s, where like, because if you go early 2000s, you got like the Death Cab kind of era, and then you go mid 2000s, things started getting like theatrical.
Yep.
Yeah,
like everything started to become like high concept, which like turned a lot of like the boy, like the older brother groups, like that turned them off of that music. They're like, this is so lame, but it brought in a lot of like young girl fans with like, especially with Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance specifically.
Yeah. And I would say I would also throw Green Day into this class, even though I know that they were popular a lot earlier, but it's kind of like a Michael Jackson situation.
Yeah, 100%. They are to this generation what Bruce Springsteen was to the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's just same thing with Pink. It's like, she had like a hit in the late 90s or something like that. But I feel like if we're going to talk about where she really came into her own.
She had an incredible album called Take Me Home.
Yeah.
Can't take me home.
Can't take me home.
Can't take me home.
Don't take her home. You can't do that.
No. Also, I'm going to throw into the extended ecosystem Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato, who are doing this thing.
The Disney version of this, yeah.
But anyway, so fueled by Warped Tour, I'm a rock chick, I like to rock out, these like coexisting generations. I would also, with the fueled by, in the extended ecosystem, you could throw in 303, you could throw in Gym Class Heroes,
Cobra Starship.
but then also I would throw in Katy Perry into this because she was at the very tail end.
She's like she's the handoff to the next era.
Yeah, she is the handoff to the next era. But also in this era, she was like, when she was first coming up, she was dating Travie McCoy.
She's in the Cupid's Chokehold video. Yeah.
Yes. So she's trying to, be like, hello, I exist. And she was trying to make it into this generation, which I just think is so funny in retrospect. Anyway, so valedictorian.
I was going to say, at my high school, we had several valedictorians. And the thing was, our high school went like off of your grades, but then also how many sports and clubs you were in. So the girl who gave the valedictorian speech at my high school, she shouldn't have been the valedictorian. But like there were others in the list that I was like, that's my valedictorian. So like in that way, I think it could be shared by like Avril Lavigne and Kelly Clarkson. I'd like them both to hold the title.
I was thinking Kelly Clarkson was great, but like Avril Lavigne is kind of the inception point for that one half of the generation. But then Paramore is the one that straddles the two. So I would put Paramore as the valedictorian. Even if they weren't, I don't know. Maybe I would just choose Avril Lavigne, actually. I love
this might be a good case for co-valedictorians.
Okay, Fueled by Ramen could be the valedictorian here.
That's true.
Just the label.
I agree.
I'm going to go with that, actually.
Or just Warped Tour in general, yeah.
Yeah, it's like all these labels that like became a thing, like Rise Records and Fueled by Ramen. It's like these different, like they all had like their own vibe, and it's like it became like it's almost like the way people talk about A24 now is the way that like labels were at that time for this specific thing.
Yeah, that's my valedictorian.
That's me at the graduation. I'm like, that's not my valedictorian.
I'm comfortable with Avril.
I'm gonna say Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson, okay.
She may be different, but she came out and she sang Behind These Hazel Eyes, and like she had a rock chick. She likes to rock out. She likes to
exactly.
break stuff and
Thank you for doing the Canadian accent. I was too afraid to do it.
I've been watching a lot of Degrassi, so I'm like kind of good at it.
So for the vocal diva, I would say either Hayley Williams or Brendan Urie.
Well, can we not say Kelly Clarkson for this? I mean,
oh wait,
I would say Kelly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Kelly Clarkson again, but I forget that the boys exist, and Brendan Urie is so true. Also, Patrick Stump, I feel like has such an influence on the way people sang at this time.
Yes, unfortunately. Sorry,
Cut that out. Cut that
cutting that
out.
out. I'm gonna say Kelly Clarkson, even though Haley Williams definitely should be noted here. I'll say Kelly Clarkson for the vocal diva.
And especially in terms of like having sons vocally, it's Kelly Clarkson and Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people were trying to sing like Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, I'm comfortable saying Kelly Clarkson for this one. She definitely can do it from both sides better than almost anybody else can.
That's my American Idol. A tabloid's best friend
Avril.
is Ashley Simpson.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I think Ashley Simpson's a good one.
That is a good one. Lots of controversy surrounding her, certainly.
Yes.
And just like the fact that, and like I like that she can tie the two things together, like this micro generation to like she's like tethers it to the like overall like 2000s things with Jessica being her sister and then her dad, which was his own beast
his own thing.
in causing his own drama.
Yes. All right. She gets something. Peaked in high school. Maybe this is also Ashley Simpson. Oh, Michelle Branch, maybe?
Yeah, Michelle Branch I think is pretty fair.
It's honestly like all of them, like in the way that they were doing it. Like it kind of became like a disco of its time where it's like after a few years everyone was like pack it up, put the fries in the bag, like I've had enough. Like and they had to move on to like different things. Like Avril had to move on to Kawaii, and then Kelly Clarkson started making her more like Cole's pop hits, and then
Bulls pop.
Cutest couple.
Ashley Simpson and Pete Wentz.
Pete Wentz.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't think about that. I was thinking of Travi and Katie, but let's do Ashley and Pete Wentz. I like that. Wow, she's cleaning up here. Ashley's cleaning up. 3 in a row. Most change since graduation. I'm gonna say
Kelly Clarkson.
You could say Kelly Clarkson for this one.
100%. Look at Kelly Clarkson in like one of her old music videos and then like her now. If you showed Kelly Clarkson right now with her bangs on her show, like singing covers of like every song ever to
but
like
if you
someone
think about
in
it, that's
2003.
so American Idol.
It is so American
Kelly
Idol.
Yeah,
Clarkson.
I feel like Kelly Clarkson is still kind of Kelly Clarkson. I don't know.
Yeah. I just think she had so much more of a like an edgy thing going on back then, but I think that's also because everything was more edgy, like in a way. Like if you weren't doing a Britney thing, you were edgy a little bit.
I mean, she's definitely not making My December right now.
No, yeah.
But I would say Pink doing the like mom pop kind of stuff.
Her acrobatics and things of that
Yes.
nature.
Yeah, that's a good call actually.
But also maybe Paramore sonically because they've tried so many different sounds.
That's true.
Panic certainly went through like a whole bunch of different personality changes. Now Brendan Urie's doing like theater stuff, which isn't like shocking, but it's certainly different than where he started.
Yeah, Brendan
Thinking
Urie.
of High Hopes versus
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like they seemed like most likely to succeed. Like Ryan Ross era, Panic at the Disco, and then you show them like what he's doing now, and they'd be like, "Wait, what happened?"
Yeah.
But also, you could say Katy Perry for that too. Like, especially if you're putting her into this category, like for early Katy Perry into like the Warped Tour generation, I would say that
she's kind of on the outskirts for me. But yeah,
like most changed.
I would say so.
Like most changed in that she's been through so many iterations, and then now she's a mother.
She's been through so much, and she's still singing.
It's because of what she's been through, and she's still singing.
If we had to pick one, I would pick Pink. I think, or no, I'd pick Panic at the Disco.
No, I actually like Pink. I'll go with that.
I also like Pink. I like Pink.
I like Pink.
In every sense.
I just got the pink microphone.
All right. So the next generation, I think we all agree, is what I called the OG main pop girls, because this one was all about the girls and all about like big Max Martin-y type of music. I think if you weren't working with Max Martin, you were making Max Martin type of music. But then you also have like Adele and Lana Del Rey who weren't doing that at all. So I don't know whether to include them in the graduating class or maybe put them into the like extended ecosystem, but I know that a lot of people consider them like the main pop
That's
girls.
like in a 90s way, like in the 90s how it was like a lot of singer-songwriter. I think that they have that type of position there too.
I would say yes on Adele, no on Lana. I think Lana, like I put her more in the next generation with Lorde and some of the alt pop kind of girls.
And like when you look up the term main pop girl, I mean, that's what this spoiler for anyone who hasn't figured it out yet. That's what this podcast is based on. It seems to have really kind of started or popularized or like been really a thing associated with this class of people. And then everything beyond that is like, how can we format it so that it fits like the 2010 mold of like what a main pop girl is. So I'm thinking Kesha, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, and then I guess we'll throw in Adele. Ariana Grande, I would throw in here just a little bit, but
too late.
But I feel like she's lumped in with these people a lot, so I'm like kind of throw
I think
her in
she's
as a
lumped
little
in with
caveat.
these people because these people have had the longevity to still be here in the next
Exactly.
generation.
Ariana Grande's debut single, like not counting the "Put Your Hearts Up," like her proper debut isn't until 2013. So I don't think we can talk about her in this generation.
Because I was thinking 2010 to 2014, but yeah, if we're talking 2010, she was in middle school when these people were in high school. So
yeah,
she was at the football games with her older sister, watching the cheerleaders.
Exactly, like she knew all the high school kids, and they were all like, "You're gonna be big one day."
Mm-hmm. And then when she showed up, and she like her aunt is Mariah Carey.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Her aunt is a teacher
They're
at the
like...
school. I'd also like Bruno Mars to be there.
I think Bruno Mars and Justin Bieber do feel like the OG pop girls to me.
Yeah, like I think people forget.
Yeah.
Like I think people now like talk so much about like modern Bruno Mars that they forget about Lazy Song, they forget about Gorilla, they forget about Doo-Wops and Hooligans. Like they're forgetting.
I would also make like a subgroup exception for the sort of like goony pop rap guys: Pitbull, Flo Rida, Black Eyed Peas, LMFAO, Tayo Cruz to a certain extent.
I'd even include some Drake there, like some old Drake.
Yeah, a generation I like to call bald sunglasses dude bro EDM rap gets a second life.
Perfect. No notes. Perfect.
Sorry, Usher, Flo Rida, Pitbull,
Yep.
Neo, Will.i.am, they all had the same thing going on at this time.
There were commonalities, to be sure.
Except for really Flo Rida and Pitbull. Like a lot of them were like famous and like had a bunch of hits beforehand, but we're kind of getting like a career second wind at this point. I also think that extends to Britney was getting a career second win.
This was her first comeback.
Feels like she's in the pink Kelly Clarkson. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like a whole generation like came back for a year just for shits and giggles.
Eminem too. Huge 2010. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like almost like a nostalgia thing too for like people who were probably like in high school maybe when those people were first breaking out, and then they're like in their 20s and they're like, oh my god, those people, because of what she's been through, and she's still singing.
Just because what she's been through. Yeah, exactly. So let's move Ariana Grande to the extended ecosystem here. I have like a little spreadsheet. But then are we bringing in, I also have Drake in the extended ecosystem. Are we bringing in Demi Lovato into like the graduating class?
Yeah, if Selena counts for this generation, I would probably put Demi in there too.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and like so we have a couple subgroups. We have the bald sunglasses dude bro EDM rap gets a second life. We have the OG Disney Channel group, which I controversially I think it's Miley Cyrus, Jonas Brothers, Selena Gomez, Taylor Swift, because even though she wasn't on Disney Channel, everyone who watched Disney Channel like listened to her, and also she was played on Radio Disney.
Hannah Montana the movie. She was having beef with all of these people too. Like I feel like she just kind of
she was hanging with them.
My thought is that she like shoehorned her way in. She's like the girl who doesn't even go here.
I guess that's just because like that was her age group. Like it's the same way that like Justin Bieber like kind of had no peers for a minute, and then it seemed like he was hanging with people younger than him, because those were just also the people his age were doing things for kids while he was like kind of considering himself to be more grown. Like once he had done like Boyfriend and stuff, like he's hanging out with Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus, and it's like, oh, they're on Disney Channel, but it's like they're literally the same age.
Yeah, I'm fine with shoehorning Taylor Swift into that group because she doesn't belong really anywhere else in this class, I don't think. Like she doesn't really belong with Katy Perry and Lady Gaga. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least not at this time.
Yeah.
Not until 1989. So I think Taylor Swift was kind of that like if Miley and Demi and Selena hung out, she was that girl that went to a different school that like would always be hanging out with them. She was always invited.
I'd like to say
someone.
that like people that maybe also went to her school were like Miranda Cosgrove and like the Victoria Justice, like that they had their like one-off hits for the kids that were like kind of emulating that style of music.
Yeah. And then Ariana Grande was the most popular girl at that school, the Nickelodeon school.
Exactly, yeah.
So for valedictorian though, I think it has to be between Gaga, Katy, or Rihanna.
It's Gaga, yeah. There's almost no number two to me. Like this was the Lady. I mean, Katy Perry was huge and occasionally great, but it's Lady Gaga. I think she defined this entire period in a way that nobody else did.
I think I have two valedictorians, and it's going to be Lady Gaga and Beyonce. Because Beyonce also did so much for this era, for
Yeah,
me
like
personally.
name the valedictorian award after Beyonce maybe, and just have her always kind of hold a share of it. But
I put that I was like that she is in every decade
She's
from
in
like
every
the
she's never
90s.
generation.
generation
Yeah.
from 2000 on.
Yeah.
You could give her the valedictorian for all of them. She could be the valedictorian of like the Warped Tour year if she really wanted to be.
She's the principal of the school now. She was a
Yeah,
student and she worked. It's like very Degrassi style. She was the student and now she's the principal.
Yeah, I love that. She's a teacher of the year, actually. But also in the generation. I would say, I mean, Katy Perry between 2010 and where I listed it was 2010 and 2014, but like even if we're just going 2010 to 2012, she definitely has the most number of hits. But yeah, I think Lady Gaga I would have to give it to as well, just because even the way Katy Perry was dressing was inspired by Lady Gaga.
yeah.
Like the way Nicki Minaj was dressing was inspired by Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga was like, here's how to be a pop star in this generation. And then everyone was like, okay, good. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, she's at the bar. Yeah,
I'd say it's not necessarily that they're inspired by her, but she like kind of gave them license to like be as weird and freaky as they wanted to.
also very true.
I love that. So the vocal diva, we have Ariana, Beyonce, and Adele vying for this. They're running. They're campaigning across the school. Again, I feel like Ariana we've decided is not kind of part of this. Demi's like more on the outskirts. I would say Adele.
It's got to be. It's definitely Adele. Like that was her whole thing of this period was everyone else was glitz and glamour in videos, and she just shows up and she's got this gigaton voice and just kind of clears everybody without even trying almost.
I'd like to also follow my trend of just saying Beyonce. There was a period at this time where people were like, Beyonce is overrated. She's probably not even that good of a singer. She's probably using autotune. And then she dropped that video where she's just singing Halo, like no mic in the dressing room, and it shut everybody up really quick.
Haters will say it's fake. All real.
And it's like even like, and I remember there was like this is earlier than this, but when she had performed with Prince, he was like, I don't want to perform with her because she's probably using autotune. And then like her team was like, just rehearse with her, and so he did. And then he was like, oh, she's not using autotune. She's really just that great.
That really makes me sad that someone so talented.
Like she's so talented that people think that it's not real. Like, and there's like a lot of people have been doing that with Cynthia Erivo and Wicked. They're like, her voice is just too autotune. I'm like, no, she literally sounds like what people are trying to sound like with autotune. Like that's just her voice. She just sounds like that. Like
a tabloid's best friend. So it's like Taylor Swift, but again, I don't know if because of the Kanye stuff. Miley Cyrus is also someone that I think, even if we're talking about pre-bangers,
yeah, I guess like
we're talking about on a stripper's pole.
Yeah, the ice cream truck and the Annie Leibovitz cover. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh God.
Again, like she ruled Tiger Beat. I'm sorry, like she did.
Bullying Demi and Selena.
So I think Miley Cyrus is a good one. And then the last one is Selena Gomez, and that's because of the Justin Bieber stuff. This is when she started becoming friends with Taylor Swift, and that was publicized for some reason.
If we count it towards like 2012, 2013, Bieber himself could be in there too when he kind of goes through his dark period.
It's true. It's true. Yeah,
I
he is
think,
the main pop
Fuck
girl.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I think of that being Bill Clinton and Anne Frank. I think of that being a little bit later, but definitely if that counts, then he needs to be at least in the discussion. But I think Taylor Swift is still the answer here, which is funny because I feel like her biggest controversies and her biggest kind of public interest and scandal come later. But she still was she was still such a tabloid source of interest, and so many of her relationships became public knowledge, and she just kind of is that person almost for the rest of her career at this point. But I still think she probably gets this one.
I'd say maybe Lady Gaga could have something here.
Oh.
This was like the period where people were like, does she have a penis? And it was like, and then
There was that.
And then you could also say Beyonce. She was also getting the does she have a penis thing, and the people were saying she was faking her pregnancy, and then the Illuminati. Okay, I'm picking Beyonce again. I have to.
I'm going to go with Miley Cyrus for the reasons listed, just so we have a spread of different answers, because I do think that everyone was controversial in this period.
That was kind of that would like in the way that the Warped Tour thing, their thing was not having beef. This one was being controversial.
Yes. And now the next one is peaked in high school. I feel bad for what I'm about to pick, but I'm about to pick Kesha. And that's just talking about like big hits, because I am a Kesha stan through and through. Like I love her. But, if someone fits the Cyndi Lauper sort of category, If it's the Cyndi Lauper peaked in high school, if we're naming things after people, then Kesha is
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
I would say that because she's so quintessentially like the years 2010 to 2012 were hers, and like her sound was so that time, so that
She had the most top 10 hits in
it
2010.
almost dates her music if she just uses her regular voice now,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
she is Cyndi Lauper in the way that like she was so girls just want to have fun in 2010, and now she's so kinky boots. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well put.
Exactly. What about you, Andrew?
Yes, Kesha. I think that's a great answer, and definitely if you're looking at the artists that were on that level at this point and didn't kind of stay on that level forever, like even someone like Katy Perry, I feel like people still kind of look at her like she's an A-list pop star, even though she doesn't really have the numbers for that anymore. There's still that kind
Hmm.
of level of interest in her and her new releases, and like when she doesn't do well, it's still news. When Kesha
It's
doesn't
like
do,
national
yeah,
news.
so like when Kesha releases an album and it doesn't do very much, it's not really a story. It's just the way it is now. So I feel like that's sort of why I would say it's got to be Kesha for this category.
The next one is cutest couple. And I have so many picks for this one actually. Because guys, I was alive during this time. So and what I mean by alive, I mean like I was fully
Sentient.
like the wheels were turning. So I have a bunch of nominees that I'll throw out, and I want to see if I'm missing anyone. But Katy Perry and Rihanna, Thick as Thieves, even though they never made that song together that they worked on together for years. Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber, the it couple. They were the Justin and Britney. Then we also have Drake and Nicki Minaj,
Oh,
which I'm not talking about them as like a couple, but they did come up together. They were like Young Money, Lil Wayne proteges.
Drake and Rihanna too.
I was thinking Drake and Rihanna. That's my
Yep.
favorite.
This next one, I'm not sure if it belongs in cutest couple or best rivalry, but Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato, they were compared like Britney and Christina were. I do really think that Selena Gomez, she draws a lot of comparisons to Britney Spears, and then like Demi Lovato is the Christina, and then Justin Bieber is the Justin Timberlake. Like if we're talking about like that teen Disney world, like it really does feel like that's the ecosystem. And then the last one, Selena Gomez and Taylor Swift. I'm just throwing it out there, but not necessarily my pick. Mila, I think you said Drake and Rihanna for yours. Are you changing your answer?
I want to say Drake and Rihanna, but I also like I don't know. I can't think of like a lot of I can't think of many cute couples from this time period for some reason that aren't like the Disney people. Like I feel like and it's so short lived, but like I do like a Gaga and Beyonce just
Yeah, I was
because I
just
keep
about to
bringing
say
them up
Gaga and
too. Like
Beyonce. Yeah.
they made
Ooh,
such
wait.
great things together. And like I loved them working together at the time too. Like I loved that like cuz it was so much of like they were both everyone was talking about them. Everyone was talking shit about them. And it's like and then they linked up and made like two incredible songs, incredible music videos and like I need them to work together again also.
Just two pop women proving they don't have a
They're
penis.
like, "Let me put on this Leo and show you what's up."
Oh, I want to say that those are the cutest couples, but I'm just going to say Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber because that does still follow them to this day for absolutely no reason. People just need to grow up. But yeah, Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber is going to be my pick for this.
Yeah, I'm torn between Gaga and Beyonce and Drake and Rihanna. I think if it's cutest, I would say Drake and Rihanna because I kind of enjoyed their sort of puppy love moments together. But if it is most iconic, then I think it's got to be yeah Gaga and Beyonce. I think that sort of defined the entire like size of this period. Like
Mm,
I feel like if you were gonna say like what was the climax of this moment culturally, it might be the telephone music video. So
totally.
I or either that or Katy Perry getting her fifth number one. But yeah, that would have to be my answer.
I like that a lot. And that's something that also haunts them to this day. Like,
Yeah.
They'll
you
never
know,
let it go.
what was it? Like Beyonce posted a picture of like um a desert or something,
Yeah.
and or it was like a video of a desert for Cowboy Carter. So best rivalry, there's Miley and Selena, there's Selena and Demi, there's Taylor and Katie. But again, that's later. There's Rihanna and Beyonce, which is again not an actual rivalry, but more of like a public perception of one. Another fake rivalry, Katie and Gaga. And then there's Taylor and Kanye, which
Taylor and Kanye ex Taylor and Beyonce. Like they wanted it to be a Taylor and Beyonce feud so bad. And then neither of them would let that happen. They were not letting it happen.
I mean, Taylor and Kanye is like the feud of the century, right? Like in all of pop culture, probably. And we could also probably say it's the feud for like the next 8 pop eras we can
Yeah.
potentially talk about. Like
Oh, it went
it's got
on
to be
way too
that.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say that too. And the most change since graduation, I'm gonna say Kesha.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Miley.
Oh yeah, that's true. She's been
Just
through.
because of all the different iterations she's done, and never really like truly likes any of them, and then she moves on to something different, and that's what I love about her.
Those are both really, really good answers. I'll go with Miley. I mean, a lot of these artists have kind of gone through major evolutions multiple times over, and some of them have kind of ended up close to back to where they were originally. Like I want to say Lady Gaga for this, but "Disease" is like a 2010 Lady Gaga song. So, yeah, I think Miley is the one who kind of never gets back to zero. So I'll say her.
She's like, what is zero?
You could also mention Rihanna too.
Not making music anymore. That is a big transition. Yeah.
Most likely to succeed. Who at the time were you like they're gonna be the most successful for like the next 10 years? Because I don't know if I think in this time I would not have said Beyonce only because her most recent album was 4.
This was as close as Beyonce has to like a lull is at the end of this era.
I would have said Beyonce simply because at this time, this is when the Queen Bee thing began on the internet, where everyone was like, "She's the Queen Beyonce." Like, when will she drop her 4th tweet? Like, this was that period.
But also, like, I do feel like a lot of that at the time could have been perceived as people shelving her into legacy act. So
Mhm.
I think at the time, I would say Lady Gaga. Even after her pop, you could not convince me otherwise.
I'm gonna also tack on Katy Perry because when her movie came out, I was like, she's the artist for our generation, and she's never gonna go anywhere.
In a way.
I think it's one of those two, and I do think it's Gaga. Like I started working in pop music and like, being a pop writer full time in 2011, and like the lead up to Born This Way was like nothing I've seen before or since. Like it's the anticipation of that album was just unreal, and it didn't totally live up to it in terms of its like in terms of like the results of it and like the singles it produced and whatever. But I could not have imagined a world at that point where Lady Gaga wasn't at the center. So I would say Lady Gaga for this. But Katy Perry's close.
So after the OG main pop girls, we really do lack a clearly defined pop star generation that was also ruling the charts until about like 10 years later. But in the meantime, we have some micro generation stepping stones. The first one being the Tumblr era of pop.
Your early Charlie XCX, your Marina and the Diamonds, Lana Del Rey came from that. Or if you take like the 1975 and you include them in that too.
Yeah, I think that's a good micro generation there is the Tumblr, which I was not cognizant of at the time at all. I mean, I knew all these artists, but I didn't realize that this was sort of the uniting force behind them. But certainly talking to younger coworkers and sort of reading a lot of the retrospective stuff written about it, it's pretty clear that that was kind of this generation was the early Tumblr generation. And like the Neighborhood is in there too, and Arctic Monkeys, and
like The Weeknd comes from that too.
Yeah, a little bit, sure.
And like even like early Travis Scott too. I would like my knowledge of Travis Scott came from Tumblr and like just his visuals being put around onto same with The Weeknd, like their visuals being put around everywhere because they had like that artsy kind of thing that the other rappers and like R&B artists weren't doing. Like if you go like them compared to like a Trey Songz and like Party Next Door and or like Future literally uses stock images on his album covers. So it's like you compare like their like high like trying to be like artsy and hiring actual artists to like make things for them. It's like the very Tumblr.
So Halsey's part of that too, right? Include early Halsey in that, like Badlands era Halsey.
Like that concept of a generation. The Lana, Charlie, Carly, Marina.
Carly Rae, yes.
Yeah, just like all the micro pop stars. Because that really, I do think back on that was kind of the era of like, well, at least for pop music, if it was like, well, if there aren't going to be a bunch of big brash pop songs in the top 10, it's like they will be like for us kind of thing. Like it became like kind of a subculture to like pop music. And I mean like capital P pop music.
Yeah.
A lot of that Lord Lana influence as well. Oh, and then of course Hosier too. But then the next micro generation would be what I call like the streaming kings. So this would be like Post Malone, Kendrick, Drake, Future, etc. I think I'd also say The Weeknd and Travis Scott fit quite nicely here too.
Yeah, so I guess you could sort of kind of do the two mini generations here between what we're talking about with the sort of the alt pop Tumblr generation, and then kind of like the streaming rap generation, which is Drake and Post Malone and Cardi B to a certain extent, Travis Scott for sure, and like also like the sort of more alternative version of that is XXXTentacion and Lil Uzi Vert and Trippie Redd and sort of Playboi Carti, like the Ragers, like that. That's sort of like that's what I think of as being like the core of the mainstream in 2016, 2017. Even though we don't necessarily think of it as like capital P pop music, but it's the same sort of thing as like what grunge was at the beginning of the 90s to me, where like this is really where the culture is right now is with the streaming rap stuff. And yeah, there's like also like the Chainsmokers and like Purposely or Justin Bieber and stuff like that is still happening. That feels more like big pop music, but the core of it, I think, is really in that streaming rap, and then also what's going on in Tumblr and the alt pop stuff.
And then finally, Cardi B acts as like the handoff to the final micro generation, which is the new rap girl wave. Her presence seemed to open the floodgates for new female rappers like Doja Cat, Megan Thee Stallion, Glorilla,
City Girls. So I feel like City Girls,
City
even
Girls.
with such a small period of being together, made so much impact with like, pardon my French, but like pussy rap and like, you know, rapping about having sex like as a woman. Like they like kind of like, not that they reinvented, because like Nicki Minaj is obviously doing it too, but it's like, you know, like bringing back like that in like a crazy and fun way that like kind of reintroduced a lot of people to like women in rap, and like where like Megan Thee Stallion would then come from, and like then you get like the alternatives like Rico Nasty and people like that also were in the same kind of class.
Yeah, let's throw Rico Nasty in there too. Sexy Red. Lizzo I would even throw in here. Cardi B, Ice Spice, who's the peaked in high school. The Cyndi Lauper peaked in high school.
Oh
award.
God, a fellow redhead no less. Yeah.
And then SZA feels pretty adjacent to all of this. And then Doechie's general popularity is a bit later on, but I've been on her case since 2020. So to me personally, she feels like she fits here. Also, she had that hit in 2022.
Because she's been around for a minute too. I feel like she's having her big moment right now, like thanks to like her collaborations she's been having, and then like her new music, her album. But I feel like Doechii and like Megan Thee Stallion have such a big like they're so like head of the class because they're such like fashion girls too. Like people like love to work with them, especially Doechii. Like D Squared and her have been like in constant collaboration for years now, and it's just so cool to see.
Doechii is such an it girl, but she more so belongs in the new class, which is the final one we'll discuss on this podcast. I feel like this class hasn't graduated yet. Like I feel like they only just started last year, which would make them sophomores, I guess.
Yeah.
They started collecting students last year. I also think it's funny, like there's a lot of connections with these people. The main connection I think of is the Sabrina Olivia Rodrigo connection with the short and sweet and the sour, and you know, like how they kind of play as foils to each other in like a really fun, interesting way, kind of like Christina and Britney did, but also, you know, Olivia being best friends with Tate McRae and really close collaborators with Chappell Roan. Then you have Gracie Abrams in the mix, who feels like she's kind of that Taylor Swift shoehorned her way into the friend group.
Yeah, so to me, it's Taylor and Olivia and their respective opening acts, right? Like that's kind of the core of this generation.
Yeah, I have a subgroups list called Swiftian Descendants, which is like Conan Gray, Gracie Abrams, Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia
Maisie
Rodrigo,
Peters.
Griff, Maisie Peters, and Holly Humberstone, many of whom we've actually had on the show. But yeah, so I would throw Doechii into this new class too.
And then you got the reintroduction of Charlie XCX as well.
But would you consider Charlie XCX part of this class, though?
She's that kid that stayed back, I think. Well, because again, like it does feel like she's peers with these people because of how, I don't know, just how involved she is, but she's also wiser and like knows more.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like she hasn't tried to like overly mature her music into like you know, like I feel like she's not doing like oh, I'm not doing that anymore. Like she's like, oh, I'm still doing that.
Yeah, she's definitely still doing that.
Yeah, Charlie feels like an extended ecosystem carryover in the way that Avril and Pink did from the Millennium Teen Boom, or Kelly and Britney did when they had their resurgence in 2011. And then if we're talking about the extended ecosystem, we have to talk about Shawn Mendes, since he was dragged into this through Short and Sweet.
I don't know if we necessarily need to talk about Shawn Mendes in this portion of the podcast.
It's like that guy she dates, like he's in college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like going back to his college girlfriend, which is
Mm-hmm.
Camila
Camilla,
Cabello,
yeah.
and Sabrina Carpenter's telling all the high schoolers about it, kind of thing. But then also Billie Eilish,
Oh yes,
who
Billie
feels like
Eilish.
she got held back a year.
Hmm.
She was like a Janet Jackson or a Dua Lipa in a way where she felt like she was going to exist outside of a generation, outside of like a pop
Because Billie
generation.
kind of came out of that, like, I feel like I kind of associate early Billie Eilish with like that XXX Tentacion like type of thing where it's like
Yeah.
very sad young person, and then she's kind of like blossomed into a different artist now. And now you have someone like Miley Cyrus and Ariana Grande are like how Beyonce was to the last
Hmm.
generation.
I agree. I agree. They're like the teachers, and then Beyonce's evolved to principal, as you said. But yeah, I feel like that's all good. Extended ecosystem, again, just by drama, is Joshua Bassett. Because we don't know where they stand, I would throw Benson Boone in the extended ecosystem, maybe Shabuzi, because I feel like they could really kind of help carve out this graduating class depending on their thing. But they also just don't feel like they feel like they're for different audiences. Teddy Swims as well.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are
But
all having hits. I don't know if they're necessarily connected to this web in particular, but I mean, Benson Boone certainly could. I mean, it's not impossible.
he could Noah Khan, I feel like, does feel a little bit more connected just
He's a little
because
closer, yeah, because he's got stuff
yeah,
with Gracie Abrams. He's kind of like 1 degree removed from all these other artists, more so than Benson Boone or Shabuzi, I would think.
And Shabuzi's collaborated with the principal, Beyonce.
That is true. He's on the premises. He's on the school grounds. Yeah.
he's the principal's son.
And everyone's scared to be friends with him because they're like, he might be a snitch.
Exactly.
Oh wait, can I also add Tyla? I feel like Tyla's filling a sort of Rihanna spot for the new
Absolutely.
generation.
Okay, so then valedictorian so far, or who we think will end up valedictorian once we have another 2 years and stuff. I think it'll be Olivia because, like you said, it really feels like she kind of popularized the careers of others, or just from her own success.
Well, are we counting Taylor Swift as part of this class?
I wouldn't. She's like the assistant principal.
Okay, fair enough. In that case, I agree with Olivia.
I don't know if I could pick a valedictorian because I feel like it's too soon. I feel like they're all still sophomores, and so much can change before senior year.
It's another
Well,
fair
Billy's
point.
a senior.
Billy's a senior.
I'm actually good with Olivia or Billy. Like Billy was she was the valedictorian kind of heading into this decade already, and so I guess you could say that she's kind of stayed there. I feel like Olivia is the valedictorian if it's folks that only came from this generation. Like she was kind of like the first great new pop star of the 2020s. So it maybe feels a little bit, but again, if you're saying that Billy got left back, then yeah, it's Billy because there is no Olivia without Billy probably.
If we're talking about vocal diva, though, I'm comfortable giving that one to Olivia Rodrigo. In terms of like known for her voice, maybe Chapel eventually,
Yeah, I
but
want to give stuff to Chapel Run. I just feel like it might be too soon. She's
yeah,
literally got one album. Feels too soon to say for Chapel Run, but I mean, I guess if you think of like everything she's done, like with just one album out, it is crazy.
I mean, Billy is my favorite singer of this entire bunch. Like, she has like the most interesting and textured voice. It's weird to think of her as being like the diva because she doesn't often go big like that. But I don't know if we have that pop star yet for this generation.
Yeah, that's kind of the marker of this era, I feel like, is that like pulled back kind of vocals, and like because
Yeah.
people like make fun, like people will listen to B-Day by Beyonce and be like the loudest album ever, and like and it's
God.
like that's so much of now is people being like, but controlling your vocals is so cool too. Like
I don't know. Maybe give this to Benson Boone in that case.
Benson Boone, yes. I mean, like Teddy Swims too, but like
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
like I don't know.
If we're counting him.
He's kind of.
he's like the janitor.
It feels like he goes to another school because he is on his first album.
He does
still.
he does the
That's
night
crazy.
classes at the school.
Yeah.
Takes the night classes.
A tabloid's best friend. I would say Sabrina. It doesn't even seem like she can escape these like love triangles.
It's funny because I think when you're talking about it just from the headlines perspective, I think you're right that it's Sabrina. But I never like feel drama connected to her. I know it exists, but her personality is so kind of light and carefree that I never think of her like really being inundated with any of this. Whereas Chapel, like she takes it all very, very personally. And like you can see videos of her like breaking down on stage or getting into fights with photographers and stuff like that. So I feel like even though the answer probably is Sabrina, my gut still tells me Chapel.
Cutest couple.
Charlie and Troy. I had that one.
Charlie
actually
and
prepared.
Troy.
Before
I
you had
love
said
that
like
one.
that was going to be a category. That was one of the superlatives I did. Was best couple was Charlie and Troy.
What about
I
Charlie
love
and Billy though?
That's a good one
Charlie
too.
and
That's
Billy.
a good one too.
We could do Olivia and Chapel as well.
Mhm.
But that's I think who I think I would put. There's also Tate McRae and the Kid Leroy. Which
Ugh.
Yeah.
Is there?
I agree. I
what-
agree with ugh. I agree with ugh. They're the popular kids. I don't want to know what their drama is.
best rivalry. And again, this is more of like a made up rivalry by fans, but I would say like Olivia and Sabrina.
Yeah.
Like I thought that
yeah.
was a really good, especially because Sabrina wasn't like her yet. Like she wasn't her.
Yeah. I guess neither of them kind of were, really. Like it was very like tail end of Disney Channel. Like it was very like pre what we know them as now.
Olivia and Sabrina, that's kind of the big bang of this entire era, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it all kind of comes from this.
Yeah.
And it's funny that like Sabrina didn't actually start gaining traction until like 3 years later. But then when she did, she really had an Olivia Rodrigo sized run of hits, which really felt like it leveled the playing field. And everyone now, it's like in retrospect, it's like we're all like, oh, that was good and good fun. Even though at the time, obviously people were sending her death threats for no reason. So yeah, definitely don't condone that. But I'm just,
We do not condone death threats for no reason. Absolutely not.
last but not least, most likely to succeed.
Chaperone.
I agree.
Or Olivia. I don't know. It's tough between those.
So I'm interested to see how Olivia is going to, because I feel like she's done so much of like she's been keeping her same vibe with these like with her records that she's released. Like she's been like she knows her lane. She stays like doing that one. Sabrina Carpenter's changed a lot, so I'd be interested to see where she's gonna go with this. But like Chapel Roan, I'm very intrigued. Like she's got the Lady Gaga 2011 factor for me, where I'm like, what's this gonna turn into?
Yeah, definitely like the highest ceiling and the lowest floor, I would say, for Chapel Roan.
Yeah.
Like she could go. Like, I mean, we talked about this before, but like she could be this generation's Madonna. That is not out of the realm of possibility. But she also could not release an album for the next 6 years, and that would also not be shocking.
She could be our Cyndi Lauper.
If we're being brave on this podcast, I will also say Chapel Roan.
I would hate for it to turn out to be in like another like you put Ice Spice on your bingo card for last year. It's like I would hate for it to be another like that where like something big happens. Everyone's like, oh no, we don't even like you anymore.
Well, here's all hoping that we're right with Chapel. Thank you so much, Mila and Andrew, for being on the podcast again. And thank you to Noah for the theme music. Make sure to rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on right now. Adios.